Welcome to Have Horse Will Travel. This is my co-host Apollo, and I'm Meredith. Hi. And gosh, I can't see the screen when I do that, so that probably looked really weird, but whatever. That's me. I'm weird. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Have Horse Will Travel. And in today's episode, I'm going to tell you about our little adventure today that we had. Apollo had some visitors. There were a couple of kids that came to visit, of course with adult supervision, that had not really been around horses before. 4 kids, 2 of them had been around a horse once or twice, I think, maybe. At least enough that one of them remembered from the very limited time that they'd ever been around a horse that you should, oh gosh, what was it she said? When you're combing their tail, you need to comb their tail standing on their side and not directly behind them. So that was obviously a thing she had done before, so that was cute. They were 6 to 8 years old, I believe, the 4 of them. So little kids having their first or possibly second horse experience. And Apollo loves kids so much. He's just fascinated by them. He just loves them. He just wants to get them to pet him. And he's so quiet and gentle when they're around. Like today, we all went to catch him from the pasture all together. So we took a walk out there. And that was great. And then so we talked about horses a little on the way out there, and like don't run around them and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was pretty cool. We all got to pet Maverick, who's so friendly, and Apollo came running up to the gate because he's so excited. But okay, here's the thing. First time he's ever seen these kids. He came running up to, not the gate, to the fence where they were standing, not to the gate where I was standing, because kids are way better than me. That's just how it is. And so they got to pet him and meet him and get a couple of safety things about walking near him while we all went back to the barn. And then we went back to the barn and they all got to brush him. And remember, these are pretty young kids, so I wasn't going to go into a lot of, I could answer their questions, but I wasn't going to go into a lot of things. Like, they were just here to have an experience with the horses, you know. They just wanted to get out in the beautiful weather we're having. Oh my gosh, I think it's over 70 now. All of a sudden it's warm. You know, parents wanted something for their kids to do, and meeting horses is awesome. So they all came just with that intention. It wasn't to be like a lesson or anything like that. It was just an experience. And so this is the first time I've done this, and like, I mean, people met Apollo, of course, while we were traveling, but I haven't ever really invited people to come out and meet him, especially, you know, not for this kind of thing. So it was just something I did for a friend, not something I normally do. So they, so they all came out. We walked out to the pasture, caught Apollo, brought him back, and here's why I had them come with me to bring him in. Because there's a little section of, he lives, almost a quarter mile down the road. And part of it on the way back is downhill. Not a super steep downhill, but it's, the easy part of the walk. So on that part of the walk, if he's got a lot of energy, or just I have a lot of energy, or just for fun, or if I'm really cold and need to warm up. Anyway, from time to time, I will, I'll jog that section, or I'll sprint that section, and he'll trot next to me. And it's really fun. I like doing that. Apollo loves doing that. Like, I don't even have I've got a good grip on the rope, but I'm not like holding it taut or anything. I'm just holding it, And he just puts himself right next to me where he's supposed to, and he keeps pace with me, however fast or slow I'm running. And he just loves it. And so we do that. And so on the way back, I told the kids, hey, this time, even though you're not allowed to run around horses, we're going to have this one exception. And we're gonna race. And so I gave them a head start, and I knew they were gonna win anyway because Apollo's going my speed, not his speed. And so we raced. We ran down the road, not very far, and the kids definitely won, and it was awesome. And then we all gave high fives, and they gave kind of high five pats to Apollo, and it was super cute. And so that was fun. So, we were just having this kind of experience. They got to groom him, and then they got tired of grooming him, so we fed him some hay, and they asked some questions, and then I took Apollo in the arena and turned him out at Liberty. Chased him around a little. I didn't chase him around, I lunged him, but like without a lunge line. And so, what was I gonna say about that? Oh, so they got to see him go fast, which is fun. He bucked a little, which was funny, and it was great. And then I caught him, and the kids came in the arena and rolled around in the dirt. And that was probably the best part for them. It was definitely the funniest part for me because I didn't have to deal with dirty kids afterwards. Haha. And I hope I'm still friends with their mom. So anyway, they had a good time. Apollo had a great time. He's so fixated on the children. And so he just was like, normally when we come up to the barn, he hasn't been worked in a week. It's springtime, the weather's nice. He's just like, let's have fun. And he's got a lot of energy. And he might, he's not bad, but he's wiggly. He'll move around while he's tied and, whatever. But with the kids, he just stood still. He just freezes when there's kids because he doesn't want to step on them. And he knows about that. And so he's very careful. And he can be really mouthy. He's always begging for treats from new people. But I did not once see him lip at any of the kids even a little bit. I'm so proud of him. He just kept his lips to himself, even though they were all over him. They were touching his nose and touching his ears and touching his belly. And one of them crawled underneath him. And they're not supposed to run, but kids are kids, and sometimes they'd run a little, and he doesn't care. So anyway, he's really good about that, and so that was great. So I don't have kids. I don't intend to ever have kids, and I wouldn't call myself a kid person, but I have I worked in college at a Girl Scout horse camp as a wrangler, and I've done other things with like kids camps and babysitting when I was younger and stuff like that. So like I'm fine with kids. I think some kids are fun to be around. I just don't want any of my own. But I'm also not around kids very much, and so sometimes it takes me a moment to be like, okay, this is how you talk to kids. Like, they're loud and move a lot, and I don't. I'm not used to that, but it was good. So like I said, this isn't something I normally do. This was just something that I did for a friend because she asked. But for anybody who has kids and doesn't have horses, or who has horses and knows someone with kids who would be interested in meeting the horses, I definitely think it's a good idea whenever possible. Whether that's like formal with riding lessons, or just, if you know someone with a horse, ask if the kids can come meet them, even just to pet them a little. They don't have to ride. Nobody was going to be riding Apollo except me, because he's Apollo, and I don't actually trust him with kids on his back. He'd probably be fine, but I don't know. What was I going to say about that? Oh yes, so, kids and horses are such a great combination. When I was a kid, I was totally horse crazy. 100% the horse craziest kid. As I'm sure there were other kids who were equally horse crazy, but as on a scale of 1 to horse crazy, I was horse crazy. And so I always wanted to meet horses, pet horses. I didn't even have to ride them. I just wanted to touch their soft noses, I didn't even have to touch them. I just wanted to look at them. And so we lived in the Southern California, where it was very urban. And when I was 16, I started taking riding lessons at the only stable nearby that happened to only be not very far away, so that was pretty lucky. And so I took weekly, just basic Western style riding lessons once a week for 2 years. And that was my first real introduction to horse stuff, horsemanship, I guess, if we want to use technical terms here, which I don't. So anyway, as a younger child, though, I would have just died to be able to go spend a morning hanging out with someone's horse. Like, that would just be a dream. I'd go sometimes on like nose to tail trail rides, if we were ever camping somewhere where that was available with my parents and I. We would do that, but that was, not often. Probably not even once a year, maybe every couple years. And so it was, I didn't even know the stables were near me until I started taking lessons. So it wasn't like I went over there as a kid to hang out and look at the horses. I had no idea. There was nobody with horses that I knew, anyone, anywhere in the area. So as someone who would have liked that and didn't get that, and then when I started learning about horsemanship, it was, it's never too late. If you've dreamed of riding horses and you're, 80, go for it. It's never too late. But sometimes I get a little jealous of people who grew up around horses. Like, they got their pony when they were 5, or, their parents had horses and they got thrown up in that saddle, or lived on a ranch. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? What a dream. Oh, well, I didn't have anything like that. It wasn't an option. But even just the few moments that I had being around horses when I was young, before and once I started taking riding lessons, were just treasured memories, you know? And I learned a lot. It's not just about making memories and having fun, although it should be fun. Later on in those 2 years of riding, it stopped being fun for a bit, and that was kind of unfortunate. Luckily, I didn't give it up. But anyway, horses are, of course, educational, and so when a kid can be around a horse, they learn to, care for an animal, to be gentle with an animal. To have that bond with an animal is really special and something that maybe people don't realize because they've just never experienced. And then, of course, if you're riding, then there's all the strength and the balance and the responsibility and all those good things that you get from riding that can definitely be a benefit to a kid. So anyway, just my 2 cents on that. So I had a good time today. Apollo had a good time today. And I know Apollo had a good time today because every time the kids went off to play in like a different part of the arena or something, he'd just watch them. He's like, "Come back, kids. I love you. And I want you to play with me." And he'd just watch them. And then when they were brushing him, he was eating at first. But when he finished his food, he just swung his head around and looked at them and put his head down so they could pet him. It was just really cute. So he loves kids. Someone riding by. I had to check him out. Oh my gosh, look at that. There's a fly. Oh no, fly season has started. It's not even April. Well, I guess I'll take warm weather and flies over cold weather and no flies. Sad though. Let's see. Oh, I was going to tell you stories from the road. Stories from the road of Apollo and kids. As long as we're on the subject. I have stories. Because I have stories. That many miles, you can't help but have stories, right? So, let's see. The most alarming story. Let's start with the scary ones first. But I was so proud of him. This was just amazing to me what happened. So he was tied up outside of a McDonald's, I believe, some fast food joint. And I'd stopped for lunch. Side note, I don't really eat fast food typically, but sometimes in some parts of America, that's all there is to eat, so you eat what you can. And I was exercising so much, I didn't have to worry about calories and things like that. So anyway, back to the story. So I was tied up. I had him tied up outside of some fast food place, and I was inside getting my food, and a couple with a little kid who must have been, I'm not good at telling how old kids are, but he was definitely no older than 2, I think. 2 or 3, let's say. He was old enough to talk, but not well. So whatever that means. You people who actually know about kids can tell me. So this family asked if their kid could meet Apollo and pet him, because the kid just was looking out the window going, "Horse, horse, horse, horse," just as little kids do. And so I was like, "Oh yeah, of course, I'll get my order and we can all go outside. Just wait for me so you don't get hurt." And so they waited, and we went out, and And I got to talking with the family. They were, really engaging to talk to, and I stopped paying attention to Apollo and the little kid. And obviously I should have been paying attention. So my bad. And spoilers, nobody actually got hurt. So it was okay. And I learned my lesson. But what the kid had started doing, this little boy had started picking mown grass, like shorter than what Apollo's eating now. It was really shortly mowed, whatever grass they grow outside of fast food places that looks nice. And they keep it mowed real short. And so this kid was picking teeny tiny pieces of grass that were like a half an inch, maybe. And he was then coming back over and feeding Apollo. Except I hadn't told him how to feed a horse. That wasn't in the plan, and I wasn't paying attention. And so he was holding, here, I actually am filming so I can demonstrate for you with a longer piece. So he was holding it like this. Just, like makes sense when you don't know about getting your fingers eaten. So he's holding it like this instead of, for you who are listening and not watching, I'm like pinching it between my fingers, so my fingers are sticking up in the air, versus keeping your hand flat and having it on the palm of your hand as you should, so that your fingers don't get munched. And next thing I know, having not realized this was going on, I hear behind me, "Ha ha ha, he bit me." And my heart stopped. But the kid was laughing, but he said he got bit. And so, obviously it wasn't pain response, but you don't want your horse biting some stranger's toddler anywhere, ever. And so I turn around, and this kid has his hand in Apollo's mouth and is laughing hysterically because Apollo, bless his heart, he stopped biting down as soon as he felt those fingers. And he didn't bite the kid's hand. It was just slightly gripped. So the kid couldn't remove his hand, but he wasn't getting injured. And that just amazes me, that Apollo could be so aware of, obviously he's aware of a lot of things, but to realize that he was eating this kid's hand and that was not good, and he loves kids, so he didn't want to hurt this little kid, and he didn't mean to do that, and so he froze, and he had this look on his face. Well, Apollo, not the kid. The kid was, very amused. But Apollo had this look on his face that was just like, a little help here, please. I don't know what to do. And he was literally frozen like a statue, waiting to be helped out of this situation. Because he didn't want that kid's hand in his mouth, but he didn't want to move and hurt the kid, so he just froze. And so I went over there and asked him to open his mouth up, like, when you put the bit in, you ask them to open their mouth, so I just did that. And he dropped the kid's hand. He was like, oh, okay, I can breathe again. And the kid was fine. 100% fine. No problem whatsoever for having just had his hand in a horse's mouth. This teeny tiny little 2-year-old hand in a giant horse mouth. My gosh, never ever want to see that happen again. But I'm so impressed with Apollo for how he reacted in that situation. There was another time in Idaho, I think. It was in the first year. It was in the first summer when we were on the road. He was getting real fussy. Trying to think of a polite word here. He was being a jerk. Let's just say it how it was. And he was just really frustrating me. He was tired. I was tired. He just wanted to be at the end of the day, and we'd been going many miles, and it happens sometimes. He was just done. And so I stopped at this convenience store to, get a snack. And, that convenience store, I had my first Idaho Spud, so it was definitely in Idaho, because Idaho Spuds are awesome, and I don't mean potatoes, I mean the candy. Anyway, when I first got to that store, before I found the candy, I had hopped off and was leading him up to a post to tie him to, so I could go in the store. And out of freaking nowhere, these 3 little kids, not as little as, the 2-year-old, but maybe the youngest was 4 or 5, and 2 older siblings, came running out of nowhere. And remember, Apollo's being a spaz and like prancing and dancing around and won't hold still. I'm trying to tie him up, and he's just like, woo, just freaking out. And these 3 little kids came running up, and the smallest one grabbed Apollo's front leg and held on and just gave him this big old hug. And it was adorable, but freaked me out because I thought for sure that kid was gonna get killed, or at least injured, because Apollo was real close to me just getting hurt trying to tie him up. Not like, that sounded horrible, but pulling back or something while my hands were around the rope, or who knows, getting stepped on more likely. But anyway, this kid grabs his front leg and holds on like it's his long lost best friend. And Apollo just stopped. All of his crazy energy from a few minutes before, seconds before, gone. And he just stopped, and he put his head down and nuzzled that kid and was just the perfect boy. Amazing. Because, he loves kids. There's been several things like that, not quite as frightening, like not kids grabbing his front leg, but kids running up out of nowhere to pet him, and he's being a handful, and then there's suddenly a little kid right at his feet that could get stepped on very easily. But then he's just like, oh, hey, kid. And he just stops whatever he's doing and says hi to the kid. So really, I need like some magic power where when Apollo's being a spaz, could like do one of those magic snaps, and some little magic child appears, and Apollo would be like, hey kid, I'll be calm around you. Wouldn't that be awesome? And then when he chills out, then I could just snap and the kid would be gone. So there's been all sorts of real cute moments too where, Apollo knows about cameras. He definitely, if he wants to ham for the camera, he totally will. He'll just be a ham for the camera. And if he's not interested in the camera, he turns his head entirely the other way so you can't get a picture. But he's doing it intentionally. And when he's in the mood for it, and he's all about the little kid, he will pose for the camera. And I have had several times, I haven't actually gotten any of the pictures, but I have seen the pictures be taken, and I know this is what they look like. He's like looking at the camera when you're about to take it, and then as you take the picture, he'll swing his head around and nuzzle the kid, and it's so adorable. What a great horse. So, anyway, that's all I got for you today. I hope you've enjoyed my little stories. And so come back next week. You can check out old episodes at centaurride.org, CENTAU. I don't know my own website anymore. CENTAURIDE.org. That is in the notes below. And all the episodes are listed out there. You can also find them anywhere you stream podcasts, and the last several episodes are on YouTube, but any of the first and second season are not on YouTube yet. So, anyway, I will be back in another couple weeks with another fabulous episode. So, thanks for watching, and come back next time. Bye!